We're going back to Kenya now to speak to lawyer Shadrack Wambui, who's also a political analyst, because there have been further developments in the last 24 hours. A statement from the Electoral Commission chairperson accusing the 4 commissioners who refused to endorse the outcome of the presidential elections earlier this week of basically trying to make changes to those results in order to force a runoff. Mr. Wambui, if you're able to hear me, let me get your reaction then to that statement by the chairperson of the Electoral Commission in Kenya.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me, and good afternoon to our viewers and to our listeners. My name is Shadrack Wambui, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya in Nairobi. Now, there were general elections on the 9th day of August 2022, and then thereafter we have been having a debacle or a stalemate between the commissioners, especially and in view of the elections of the President of the Republic of Kenya. Now, you will recall that on the 15th day of August 2022, we had 4 commissioners distancing themselves from the results relating to the presidential elections, or on the basis that, number one, they took the view that they were not involved in the final tally, and secondly, that the percentages or the final results as handed over or announced by the chairperson of the commission were not a subject of plenary discussion between them. Now, subsequently, yesterday, on the 17th day of August, we had a response. You can call it a response from the chairperson, Mr. Wanyonyi Chebukati Wafula, who also gave us a response on what he says that the 4 commissioners who have distanced themselves from the results were of a different view. They wanted to force what is called a rerun as per the Kenyan Constitution. Now, what is important for now is that Raila Odinga has decried the results. He has called to questions the results as announced by Chebukati, and he has threatened to proceed to the Supreme Court to challenge the declaration of the President-elect, Dr. William Ruto. And this will be done not later than Monday, because the Kenyan Constitution stipulates that a dispute to the presidential elections or the declaration made by the chairperson of the IBC relating to the presidential elections will be filed before the Supreme Court, not later than 7 days after the declaration. So, from where I sit, I think it's a very good question that the Supreme Court will be called upon to respond to, because as far as the Kenyan domestic legislation is concerned, particularly the enabling act that stipulates the workings of the Kenyan Electoral Commission, and this is the IBC Act, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commissions Act. There is a provision in the act that requires that decisions made by the Electoral Commission must either be made unanimously, or where there is a dispute, then a vote must be conducted and the majority must win.
Right. So how damaging is it then, sir, when you've got 4 commissioners, which would be the majority out of 7, who said that they could not endorse these results? They said that these were processes that had been opaque. That was the word that kept coming up. You now have the chairperson of the Electoral Commission who says, in fact, those very commissioners tried to pressure him to essentially change those results to force a runoff. Where does that leave their credibility as a group, all of them, including the chairperson and these 4?
Now, just to return back to so that I can contextualize the response. Now, you know, the Kenyan law requires, the Kenyan law that touches on the commission requires that decisions by the commission must either be unanimous or by majority. Now, the commission is composed of 7 members. And therefore, by a simple look at the numbers, 4 out of 3 commissioners have distanced themselves to the commission, to the commissioners, the chairperson's announcement or declaration. So one would ordinarily anticipate or expect that the majority will have their say or their way, and the minority will have their say. Now, and this is why I say that it will be very important to see how the Supreme Court of Kenya will handle this question, because one wonders, is the declaration by the chairperson of the commission a question of to be discussed at the plenary, or is the declaration a constitutional obligation that is bestowed upon the chairperson as an individual alone? So it's a question and a wait and see. It's a constitutional moment, if you ask me, in the Kenyan constitutional democracy, so that we will have an opportunity of understanding even further. Because firstly, you will have expected, as I do, that the majority in this case, having declined to have those announcements, the declaration made public, then they will have won if you are to resort to a literal interpretation of the law as we have it in Kenya.
Thank you very much, sir.
Shadrack
Wambui, thank you very much for your time.